On the basis of the project, Status 6, a whole line of underwater drones, so to speak, Poseidon's children, is being developed to kill enemy communications. But we'll tell you about that right after we list the most interesting events that happened in our country during the week. So, Optic Energo Group in Mordovia launched 2 new industrial sites, a cable manufacturing shop and a foundry. The production capabilities of the new site allow to meet the demand in various industries: railway transportation and metro rolling stock, automotive components, agricultural machinery, stop valves, power engineering, and many others. The capacity of the new shop is 3,000 tons of castings per year. Ural Steel has developed and mastered the technology for the production of flat-rolled products made of weld U-690, a new high-strength weldable steel. The new steel combines high strength, superior impact resistance at temperatures down to -70 degrees Celsius, while not cracking when bent and welding well. Tightened consumer requirements for flatness have also been taken into account. 2 small ships, Zhev and Eudamelia, were built simultaneously at the Amur shipyard under the State Defense Order for the Pacific Fleet. All materials, component parts and armament equipment of domestic production, Eudamelia and Zhev, will be transferred to the final construction base in Vladivostok, where they will undergo final tests, after which the ships will be handed over to the Pacific Fleet. Holding Cross Electronics has developed a line of matrix photomodules based on silicon crystals. They see objects at any time of day and are capable of forming both black and white and color images. The novelty, entirely made of Russian components, can be used as part of video monitoring, scanning systems, as well as for precision weapons guidance. Kret Concern has produced the first prototypes of the new Moby vent ventilator. A team of physicians and resuscitators participated in the development of the device software interface to evaluate the usability and functionality of the system. The novelty will help speed up the process of import substitution of ventilators in Russia. Rusatom Additive Technologies and Udmurt State University opened Russia's first shared additive technology center in Izhevsk. It will address manufacturing and educational challenges in 3D printing technology. Such centers are planned to be opened all over the country. Rosneft commissioned a 35 kilowatts high automated mobile substation at the Vankor field for the first time in Russia. The new Russian-made energy facility will supply power to an early pre-discharge water plant with a capacity of 10,000 cubic meters per day. The main thing here is that there will be mobility and the ability to remotely access its control without having staff on site. Atom has begun testing a functional platform for an electric vehicle. Testing will run through the middle of next year and will include chassis tuning, steering and braking system calibration, temperature control and electric motor tuning, and calibration of driver assistance systems. The functional platform represents the base of the electric car of the production version. An experimental solar-powered electric tractor designed for sowing crops has been developed by specialists from Bavalov University. The new technology saves more than 45% of operating costs compared to a similar tractor with an internal combustion engine. Savings are achieved due to the simple design, minimum parts and user-friendly control system. Construction of one of the country's largest production complexes for processing oilseed crops, rapeseed and flax at a cost of 3.7 billion rubles started near Novosibirsk. Implementation of the investment project involves the construction of raw material reception points, elevator complex, production buildings for pressing, extraction, storage and shipment of finished products, administrative and household premises. Now let's move on to Poseidon's children. On the basis of the Status 6 project, a whole line of underwater drones that kill enemy communications has been developed. Here, for example, is one of the smallest underwater drones of the Rubin Central Design Bureau named Amulet. Its specification spells out the exclusively peaceful uses of this type of submersible, although each such has a modification made for the Navy. In general, it is not only drones that have added to the piggy bank of military thought in the last year and a half. It was clear that airborne drones would be followed by marine and land-based drones, though perhaps not so vividly right now. However, uncrewed ships, both artisanal and more or less industrially produced, have been on the radar more and more lately. Their pressure on communications has increased noticeably, and cameras on board even an ineffective attack can be presented as effectively as possible, becoming an indispensable attribute of psychological and PR wars. Another of the advantages of such vehicles is the ability to integrate a much more powerful warhead, more comparable to the warhead of an anti-missile missile than a conventional aerial drone. But be that as it may, when the surprise effect passes, there's almost always an escape for them too. These are essentially the same kamikaze drones, The only difference being that due to their reduced speed, acoustic signature and limited maneuverability and control, they are much more vulnerable than their aerial counterparts. It will be much more difficult to cope with more complex apparatuses of, let's say, strategic importance, where all the latest technologies and developments in the field of underwater and surface practice of warship construction are used. Here, for example, is the ANPA Vityaz D, the firstborn of this line and a prototype for the future Poseidon. It became the world's first fully autonomous drone to descend to the bottom of the Mariana Trench on May 8, 2020. And today the most famous apparatus of this plan is the Russian Poseidon, which foreign reporters have labeled a doomsday torpedo. It was with a rather crude leak about the existence of this project, then called Status 6, that the presentation of a new strategic line of Russian weapons, designed to strengthen our nuclear weapons after the U.S. abandonment of the ABM Treaty, began. In September 2015, the whole world learned about the future Poseidon, an autonomous uninhabited underwater vehicle, ANPA for short, with a nuclear propulsion system. To this day, in-house propagandists at the Pentagon and other NATO-affiliated entities have labeled the Russian submersible as an immoral and indiscriminate weapon. And this, as we know, is a sure sign that Poseidon is feared in the North Atlantic Alliance, and our former partners have no real possibilities to parry such a threat. Despite the statements of various talking heads that the only purpose of the Poseidon is to create a radioactive tsunami somewhere off the east coast of the United States, or near the British Isles, the tasks of our submersible are much broader. Here's a photo of the Poseidon during one of the tests in the fall of 2022. It is planned to build a total of 4 carrier boats for the entire line of Rubin Central Design Bureau drones. The first of them, Belgorod, is already on experimental combat duty. The task of Poseidon, first of all, is to destroy enemy fleet groups at anchorages, underwater attacks of naval warrants and other activities, in previous years inherent to multi-purpose submarines, only this time without risk to the crew. Last November, when the nuclear submarine Belgorod, currently the only active representative of Special Project 09652, went to sea, presumably with Poseidons on board, NATO monitors and services lost her rather quickly. Then many in Brussels sounded the alarm, saying that the Russians, in response to the explosion of the northern flows, might want to stage a big provocation on one of the submarine transatlantic cables, at great depth, to create a dangerous incident and provoke a serious economic crisis. Poseidon, in the non-nuclear version, could well act in this role, although we have in stock and other more suitable for this development. Here, for example, is the second modification of Clavicin. It can already be called a full-fledged combat vehicle. Thanks to its modular design, it can act in multiple roles from underwater mapper to sabotage drone. The British magazine Neville Review called it one of the biggest threats to British Isles communications. In general, then with the boat, Belgorod, everything went well. This boat, rumored to have conducted the last tests of our Poseidon mega torpedo in the Kara Sea, has returned to its home port. However, as various naval journalists of NATO countries wrote, it could just as well have been testing the younger brother of Poseidon, made on its base, but a more compact underwater drone, Clavicin. This device, designed in our specialized Rubin Central Design Bureau from St. Petersburg, is called an unmanned saboteur by NATO, claiming that the drone is mainly designed to fight against cables, gas and oil pipelines, underwater tracking stations and other important infrastructure facilities, where they are particularly vulnerable. NATO has nothing to protect them under a water column of more than a kilometer, nor can it quickly prove Russian involvement. And the second modification of the device, Clavicin 2 RPM, unlike the first one, created to solve scientific problems, was really designed for the military and can be placed only on a nuclear submarine of Belgorod, or Podmoskovy, type. Clavicin 2 RPM can affect underwater objects with the help of a manipulator, place mines and various spy plantings, as well as destroy especially important objects through self-destruction and powerful underwater explosion. And here is the multi-purpose drone, Unona, about 3 meters long, weighing 87 kilograms, another compact dual-purpose autonomous underwater vehicle. Due to its modular design, the entire line of the Rubin Central Design Bureau is capable of performing several underwater missions at once. In general, in addition to fairly large devices, the size of more familiar to us, Batyskov, in Rubin, has already made a whole line of miniature underwater drones, such as Unona, Amulet, and many others, which actively use the developments used in the design of Poseidon. The size of such mini-boats is not more than 3 meters, and there are even smaller. An important advantage is that they can be placed on any ship of the military fleet, including auxiliary ships, as well as on completely unequipped ships. We have recently encountered this practice in the Black Sea, and the emergence of much more technologically advanced naval drones will be a natural response to such a blatant violation of the tradition of warfare, called military cunning by our adversaries.